It was an autumn night, and darkness enveloped the road like a shadowy cloak. The moon was covered by clouds, making the night even darker than usual. Emma, a young college student, was about to embark on an overnight trip that would take her back to her hometown. She had spent the weekend with friends and now needed to get home in time to attend an important meeting the next day. The rain began to fall slowly, turning into a drizzle that splashed onto the car's windshield. Emma looked at the clock on the dashboard and sighed, realizing she was already late for her journey back. She knew the road would be long and lonely, but she was determined to get home in time. The car radio played soft music as Emma drove down the deserted road. The sound of rain hitting the roof of the car created a melancholy soundtrack to their lonely journey. The headlights cut through the darkness, revealing only a small portion of the road in front of them. As she walked down the empty road, a feeling of uneasiness began to grow within Emma. She attributed this feeling to the gloomy weather and the loneliness of the deserted road. However, something in her instinct warned her that something was wrong that night. The rain increased, turning into a downpour that made visibility even worse. Emma felt like she was driving through a curtain of water, and her nerves began to fray. She tried to remain calm, reminding herself that she would be home soon. That's when she saw something on the side of the road. A lone figure stood there, drenched in the rain with his thumb outstretched as a hitchhiker. Emma hesitated for a moment, her heart beating faster. She had heard scary stories about strangers on the road, but her compassion made her slow down and stop next to the drenched figure. The car door opened, and the stranger got in, thanking Emma for stopping. He was wet to the bone, and his appearance was strange. His face was pale, and his eyes, which looked tired and dark, stared into hers. Emma tried to start a conversation to ease the tension. She asked where he was going and where he was coming from, but his answers were short and evasive. He did not mention his name or give many details about himself. Emma began to feel a growing sense of discomfort as the journey continued. As the road stretched out before them, Emma noticed something even more disturbing. Every time she looked in the rearview mirror, it seemed as if the mysterious passenger had changed position in the back seat, as if he were silently approaching her. Fear began to take hold of her, and she decided to ask the man in the back seat a direct question. "Are you well?" she asked, trying to mask her nervousness. The man didn't respond immediately, but when he finally did, his words sent a shiver down Emma's spine. "I can't go back," he whispered in a chilling, cryptic tone. The enigmatic whisper from the man in the back seat left Emma even more disconcerted. She glanced nervously in the rearview mirror. The silence between them was unsettling, and the sound of the rain against the car was the only thing that broke the stillness. Emma tried to remain calm and continue driving, but the feeling of restlessness accompanied her with every kilometer she traveled on that dark and rainy road. She began to question her decision to give the stranger a ride and wondered if she was in danger. The man in the back seat continued to move, and Emma couldn't understand how he could change positions so silently. She felt like she was being watched all the time, and paranoia began to consume her. "Can you tell me where you're going?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The man remained silent for a moment before replying, "I can't go back." The words were the same, and the lack of explanation only increased the mystery surrounding the passenger. Emma began to wonder if he was running away from something or someone, and the idea made her even more apprehensive. As the journey continued, the rain continued to fall heavily, and visibility on the road was almost zero. Emma's car moved slowly through the darkness, and she began to consider stopping at a gas station or finding a safe place to call for help. However, the presence of the man in the back seat prevented her from making any decision. That's when she noticed he was whispering something under his breath, as if he was muttering a prayer or a mantra. The unintelligible sounds were unsettling, and Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She tried to focus on the road and ignore her passenger's strange behavior, but the tension inside the car was palpable. As the rain fell relentlessly, Emma spotted a sign for a gas station a few miles away. She made the decision to stop there, hoping to find help, or at least a safer place to assess the situation. As the car approached the gas station, Emma noticed that the lighting in the area was dim due to the storm. She parked the car and looked in the rearview mirror, waiting for the man to get out. However, he remained motionless in the back seat. "You can leave now," Emma said, her voice shaking. The man didn't move. Emma started to panic. She knew she needed help, but she couldn't just leave the car with the stranger in the back seat. A difficult decision awaited her, and the mystery surrounding the drenched man was far from solved. Emma was standing at the gas station, watching the man in the back seat of her car. The rain continued to fall heavily, and the dim lighting of the gas station gave the place an even more sinister atmosphere. She had no idea what to do next. The man in the back seat remained motionless, as if he was waiting for something. Emma, nervous and anxious, decided to take action. She opened the car door and ran into the gas station, looking for help. The gas station attendant was behind the counter and looked surprised when Emma entered, her face pale and her breathing quick. She tried to explain the situation quickly, mentioning the mysterious man in her car. The attendant looked out the window and saw Emma's car parked outside. He picked up the phone and called the police, asking them to send a patrol car to the gas station. Emma was relieved to finally get help, but fear still consumed her. She knew that the night road and the man's presence were a mystery that needed to be solved. As they waited for the police to arrive, Emma began questioning the man about his identity and why he was on the road that night. She wanted answers and was willing to wait until the police arrived to get some explanation. The man remained silent, his gaze fixed on the ground. Rain lashed against the gas station windows, creating a somber soundtrack to the tense encounter. Emma tried to calm down, but the uncertainty surrounding the man tormented her. When the police car finally arrived at the gas station, Emma felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The police officers entered the station and began questioning the man, asking for his identification and reason for being on the road. The man, still evasive, said he was just trying to find a safe place to shelter from the rain. However, his answer did not convince the police, who began to investigate his identity in more detail. Meanwhile, Emma explained her side of the story to the officers, mentioning how the man's strange behavior alarmed her and led her to call for help. The police decided to search the car for any evidence that could clarify the situation. The search revealed little, except for some wet clothes and a small bag of the man's personal belongings. There were no identification documents or any other clue that could explain his presence on the road that night. The situation remained shrouded in mystery. The police officers decided to take the man to the police station for questioning. Emma was grateful to no longer be alone with him, but the feeling of restlessness that had accompanied her since the beginning of the trip still persisted. She accompanied the police officers to the police station, hoping that the truth behind the man's presence on the night road would finally be revealed. At the police station, Emma sat in a waiting room, eager to hear what the mysterious man would tell the officers during the interrogation. She was wet to the bone and tired from all the excitement, but her curiosity and concern kept her alert. After a long period of waiting, one of the officers approached her to give an update. He explained that the man was not fully cooperating and that his responses continued to be evasive. However, they had managed to identify him as John Doe, a man of no fixed abode and no criminal history. Emma was perplexed by the lack of information about John. Why was he on that road that dark and stormy night? What was he hiding? As Emma waited, she began to reflect on the tumultuous night she had endured. The feeling of uneasiness that had come over her when she saw John on the road continued to haunt her. She realized that although John was in police custody, the mystery surrounding his presence was not solved. A few hours later, the cops finally finished interrogating John. He was being held in a temporary cell while police investigated his statements and tried to determine whether he posed any threat. Emma was called to give her statement about the encounter on the road. She explained in detail how she had encountered John hitchhiking on the road and how his strange behavior had scared her. She had no idea what he was mumbling or why he couldn't explain his reason for being on the road. The officers thanked Emma for her cooperation and told her she was free to leave. She left the police station, but the feeling of restlessness persisted. She knew she didn't have all the answers and that the mystery surrounding John and his presence on that dark road was deeper than she imagined. In the days that followed, Emma continued to wonder about that encounter on the road. She read local news and awaited any developments in John's case. However, information was scarce, and the mystery seemed to have been lost in the bureaucratic tangle of law enforcement. Months passed, and Emma tried to resume her normal life. She avoided driving at night and avoided deserted roads whenever possible. The encounter with John left deep emotional scars that tormented her constantly. One night, while watching the local news, Emma was shocked to see John's face in a report. Police were looking for him in connection with a series of violent crimes that had occurred in the area. He was wanted for murder and was considered dangerous. Fear gripped Emma when she realized she had given a lift to a man wanted by the police. The mystery surrounding John has unraveled, revealing a terrifying story. She was grateful that she had sought help that night and that she had not become a victim of his crimes. John's case quickly became one of the most notorious in the region, and authorities did their best to track and capture him. Meanwhile, Emma learned to trust her instinct more and not ignore the uneasy feeling that warned her of imminent danger. The road that used to be just a way home has become a constant reminder of a terrifying night and the mystery it helped reveal. Emma knew that she would never forget meeting John on that dark and stormy road, and that the experience made her more cautious and attentive to dangerous situations that could come her way.